Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuhu. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we welcome you all to this Q&A series on Islam, a simple way of life. So in this program, inshallah, let's try to cover one important question which is of immense importance given the current COVID-19 situation. As we all know that in the current COVID-19 situation, still there are a lot of researches going on and there is a dire need for the blood plasma. So there is a research which is going on in this area to see if the blood plasma of any COVID-19 patient who is cured recently can be used to treat the patients. So for this we need to first understand if it is even allowed in Islam. The question for today is, what is the ruling on donating blood or plasma in Islam? So before we get into this answer for the question, which is of real importance considering the given times, we should understand that people actually, the Muslim brothers and sisters who actually feel that the donating blood is prohibited in Islam because of one or couple of verses in the Quran which actually talks about the one which are all made as haram, which are all prohibited for mankind. So in similar lines, people refer to a couple of verses, and one such verse is in Surah Nahl, chapter 16, verse number 115, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on and says, إِنَّمَا حَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةُ وَالدَّمَ وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ وَمَا أُهِلَّ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, but prohibited to you is the dead and the blood and the flesh of the swine and that which has been dedicated, nominated to non-God. So this is the verse where people actually misinterpret this verse and consider that since blood is haram for a Muslim, we are not supposed to donate the blood. So this is one actually very big misconception among the Muslim Ummah where people hesitate to donate the blood. Otherwise, we all know that Muslims are full of service minded and they are ready to go an extra mile and extend their service for the benefit of others. However, when it comes to blood donation, only very few people, or rather only very few organizations actually promote the blood donation among the Muslim Ummah. Most of the people in Muslim do not actually are for the fact that they wanted to donate the blood. However, from the Islamic perspective, we should understand if it really has any prohibition in Islam. Like we all know, if at all there is a small amount of prohibition somewhere in Islam, we should definitely refrain from doing that, and that has to be the attribute of a believer. There's no doubt about it. There's no second thought about it, where a Muslim is supposed to basically consider the fact that if it is prohibited in some way or the other, he should refrain from that one. There's no question about that one. However, the question arises here as to whether blood donation or the plasma donation, which is more relevant in current times, is it even allowed in Islam? To understand this one, we should first understand what blood donation is. So blood donation or the plasma donation is not like an organ donation where once you donate the blood or the plasma, it goes away permanently from your body. That's not the case. Rather, blood will actually be, the amount of blood we donate would be like around 350 ml odd, somewhere around that one, 320 ml to 350 ml odd. So the amount of blood we donate from our body will be replenished in our body within 48 hours, maximum of 48 hours. And the nutrients or the minerals, whatever we have in the blood, will all be actually regained within a week's time. Okay, and in an ideal situation, a person is entitled, scientifically, a person is entitled to donate the blood once in 3 months. So 3 months is the maximum, 3 months is the minimum duration upon which a person is not supposed to donate the blood again. So these are all some scientific facts tied to that. Now coming back to this question, when people say that donating blood is haram because Allah has made the blood haram for us. Now there is no doubt that blood is haram for us, to the extent that whenever we actually eat any food, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I have made you, I have made all the things pure and halal, kulu mimma fil arli halalan wa tayyiban. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, oh, you believe, you eat whatever is pure and whatever is being made halal for you. There's no doubt about it that blood as a food is not to be consumed among the Muslims. To that extent, where the flowing blood of an animal should be actually removed completely from the body. It should be totally removed from the body of the animal before we even eat the meat of the meat. This is perfectly fine in Islam, and there's no doubt about it. And people refer to this verse, like I mentioned in Surah Nahl, chapter 16, verse 115, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically talks about the food which is all made haram for Muslims. And while listing the food which is made haram for Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on and says, Innama haramu alaykum, Innama haramu alaykumul maytatu. Indeed, Allah has made the dead animal haram for you, waddam, and blood also is haram for you, wallahamul khinzil, and the flesh of the swine, and wama uhilla li ghayrillah, and the ones which are dedicated or nominated for fake gods or demo gods is all made haram for you. There's no doubt about it. It talks about the list of prohibited food, the list of food which is made haram for a Muslim to consume. Now coming back to the blood donation, is blood donation similar to the way how we consume blood? No, definitely no. So when we donate a blood, we don't basically make the person drink the blood. Rather, we inject the blood through his veins, and probably it'll be in a different way altogether. Now again, when you come back to differentiating between halal and haram, we should also understand one other fundamental in Islam. Let me give you an analogy. For example, in Islam, we all are aware that alcohol is prohibited in Islam. There's no second thought about that. Even a very layman Muslim who does not even follow the 5 tenets of Islam, who does not adhere to all the sunnah of Islam, would try to refrain from alcohol because he knows alcohol is haram in Islam. Because he knows alcohol is haram in Islam, the context in which it is made as haram has to be understood thoroughly. The reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made alcohol prohibited for us is because it leads to a state of inebriated state. So people get inebriated, people go high on their mind, and that's the reason Allah has made alcohol haram. However, if using an alcohol for some other purpose, not for consumption, if people are using alcohol for some other thing which is not going to actually cause any health benefits to him. Let's take an example where alcohols are all mixed in the perfume. If alcohol is mixed in attar, if alcohols are all mixed in the deodorant, and if the person uses that one, nobody would bring down and list down the hadiths where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that consuming alcohol is haram. You got the context, right? So there is a difference in which the thing is made haram. Alcohol is made haram only for consumption. It is not made haram for using, like in medical purposes where you use spirit to clean the wounds. It's not made haram there. Nor it is made haram if you have to come up with a medicine which has a bit of alcohol in it. Thirdly, it is not made haram if you use alcohol for some other reason, the one for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made it haram. So considering that, and in similar lines, we should arrive at a conclusion when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the blood is haram for us. What do we get out of that? We infer that blood is haram for us because consumption of blood is haram, and that's what exactly the Quranic verses say. However, if somebody asks whether blood donation is prohibited because of this verse, then that's absurd. So there is no connection between the blood donation and the consumption of blood. It's totally two different terms. Now coming back to blood donation, people who also refrain from donating blood, they will be willing to take blood in case of emergency. If the person meets an accident, if the person or his an immediate family of this person wanted blood for an emergency surgery, he would straight away go and get the blood. Now the question here is getting the blood donation. If getting the blood donation is allowed, of course donating the blood is also allowed in Islam, right? So like Allah's Messenger says, it's narrated by Anas radiallahu anhu, which is mentioned in Sahih Muslim, where Allah's Messenger says, none of you will have faith till he wishes for his brother what he likes for himself. So I cannot call myself a Muslim, I cannot call myself a true believer unless and until I feel whatever I wish for myself, I should wish for my brother. So if I don't wish for my brother, there is no moral grounds on which I can say that I am a Muslim, because what I am wishing for myself, unless and until I am wishing the same for my brother, I don't deem to be called a Muslim. Considering all this hadith, now coming back to blood donation is so critical in current times. Now we are going through all this COVID-19 situation where plasma donation is also in high demand, and people are actually trying to find blood donors from the plasma donation. But before that, in normal scenarios as well, blood donation is also one of the main important thing which basically saves life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran about the benefit of saving a life. Now, we all know that donating blood, of course, saves life. For example, the blood we donate is actually used by minimum 4 people. The blood would be divided into 4 different constituents of the blood, and it would be administered to people who want that specifically. Likewise, the blood we donate is actually replenished in our body. By that, we don't lose anything in our body. We don't, go for a complete, permanent disability in our body. It's just like a mere small fraction of time where we don't have blood in our body, and which gets replenished based on the normal activity. So, considering all this, the way we donate blood, since it's going to save at least 4 lives, now we should understand the importance of saving a life. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse number 32, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. If one of you saved a life of a mankind, it is as though saving the life of the whole humanity. So the benefit what we get out of saving one mankind is like as if we save the whole of the humanity. So much of benefits Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless upon us. Now assume you are going to donate the blood and you're going to save 4 people. For each 4 people, Allah will consider that you have saved like 4 times the humanity living around us. So it's a an immense amount of benefit what we get out of blood donation by saving lives. And that's exactly why Muslims are actually doing blood donation. Though some people have a hesitation of blood donation, considering that it's haram in Islam, there's no doubt about it. We will have to ensure that the blood is donated and it is used appropriately by the people who are suffering or who is in dire need of the blood. Now coming back to the plasma donation is no big different than the blood donation. The only difference here is that the process takes a little more time. For a normal blood donation, we all are aware that since it would take a maximum of 15 minutes for us to donate the blood, including the rest what we take after donating the blood, including all that, it takes a maximum of 15 minutes. However, donating plasma would take a little longer time, close to 2 hours or even more than that. The reason being, our blood is extracted from the body and the plasma is actually separated from the blood, and then again the blood is infused into the body. So they do this process multiple times and they take the plasma out. So based on this, the plasma content is actually used currently for the COVID-19 patients. However, in earlier times also, plasma donations are all important because it helps the cancer patients. If cancer patients are having severe issues with their own body, there are chances that the plasma of a healthy person would help them heal better. So likewise, there are many benefits of donating plasma, and in current situation, what is more relevant for us is that when people are having a dire need for plasma, Muslims should come forward and donate that one. Now earlier, when Muslims had a misconception that blood donation is haram in Islam, people were refraining from donating blood, and it had to happen a continuous propaganda among the Muslims to clarify the doubts of Muslims, and we had to do a lot of groundwork before we get the donors for the blood donation. However, in the current scenario, like we all know that this current scenario is where a lot of Islamophobia things are going around. It's been going driving us nuts here, where a lot of things are targeted upon Muslims. So a lot of things you would hear the word the single source infection, the Tablighi Jamaat, the Delhi program, and all that, right? So these are all actually aimed at maligning the name of the Muslims. And Alhamdulillah, this is a great opportunity for the Muslim brothers and sisters. Where now that we know that there's no prohibition in Islam for us to donate blood or plasma, so it is time for us to come forward and donate the plasma to the needy people. So we should try to ensure that the government has a scarcity of blood, if the government has a scarcity of plasma, it is the responsibility of a Muslim to come forward, step forward, go an extra mile and donate the blood and plasma to basically do 2 purposes here. So to cater to 2 purposes here, we should definitely come forward and donate. And what are the 2 purposes? One thing is, of course, to report the benefit, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, man ahya faka'annama ahya nasa jami'a. Whoever saves the life of a single man is as though he saved the life of the humanity. Number 2, this is the time to actually teach to the non-Muslim world around us that Muslims are the most humanitarians living around in this world. The reason we are all known to be having so much of humanitarian values in us is only because Islam teaches us to do so. So in order to convey this message loud and clear, it is our responsibility, my dear brothers and sisters, to come forward and donate the blood or the plasma, which would help the COVID-19 patients to recover from this critical times, and thereby it would also ensure that the Muslim name, which is maligned because of the media propaganda, is vanished out of it, and it gives a very improved sense of humanity prevailing among Muslims. And I feel it's our duty to do that. I sincerely pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that in the coming days, when there is a dire need for a blood or a plasma for any kind of patient, Muslims should be the front runners in doing that one, like we always have been doing that. This is yet another opportunity where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this opportunity. I would sincerely urge you all to take the opportunity and come forward and do this plasma donation, since we know that there is absolutely no prohibition in Islam for blood donation or plasma donation. Wa alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.